Hi, David. Welcome to Growth
My
IQ Media. I'm pleased that you're here. We would like to
pleasure.
discuss what you do, your business, your experience, and definitely by end of this video, I think it's going to help a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of growing businesses, and a lot of people who are in the fence of starting their own business.
Good, good.
So to hear
Well,
from you and about your business.
well, Nisha, I've got several businesses. I'm a mergers and acquisition advisor. I'm an investment banker for Merit Investment Bank, and I focus on technology companies in the what I call low to mid market. So somewhere between 5 and 10 million, up to 500 million, right in that range. And on another line, I have a fractional I used to call it a fractional sales management company, but we've added services. So I've been in technology sales for 30 years, and I've founded three companies. I've exited two, and what I found is that a lot of small companies need help in sales leadership. Many people in the tech world, the CEO is technical, the founders are technical, and they don't know how to sell B2B solutions effectively. That which is different from selling, say, a $19 subscription to selling sold, accounts payables automation systems, workflow, business processing systems for Fortune 50 companies, things like that. Those are two different worlds. Some find it hard to figure that out. And they can't afford a guy. With my experience, what we did was we make that experience available on a fractional basis. So they can hire me for a day a week, 2 days a week, whatever. I help them structure their sales team because they, well, suck at it, and they hire the wrong people. They hire people, a friend of a friend, or somebody that had a good year. So obviously they're a sales genius, right? And they don't know how to set up sales playbooks or create sales stories or how to track and properly forecast. So we set up that whole system. Now, what I found in that journey was the other areas that they tend to be not good at are marketing for a small business and lead generation. Everybody wants more leads, right? There's nobody you've ever talked to that says, no, 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 I have enough leads. I don't need any more leads, right? So instead of doing it the way you get the emails, I get them, contact us. We'll build you 3 websites and send you 500 leads a week, or, for $1,200, right? Everybody's gotten those emails. Is I don't want to call it a scam, but it just doesn't work. You just might as well take money out back and light it on fire, right? It's the same. So I put together a professional team, B2B marketing and lead generation. And I know this because I hired these companies when I had my company, and it worked. So we now provide, professional help to small companies, and we've done this for dozens of companies where we've in some cases doubled their revenue. But more importantly, not, we don't make crazy promises of doubling, but what we do is we say we know how to grow your revenue and stabilize it and give you a system to work. It's not like a one shot and done kind of thing. And that's what owners come back and tell me that they like, is that we can take it from here. It's almost like, if anybody's familiar with EOS, the enterprise operating system, they don't necessarily pretend to be there for life. They show you how to run your business so you could actually have your team run your business without you. We want to teach you how to create a sales and marketing and lead generation process, and then you take it from there. So I built that company, and then I have a SaaS company that helps small technology companies with recurring revenue in the form of maintenance contracts. Sometimes they're subscriptions, sometimes they still sell on-premise software solutions, licensing, but they come with an annual maintenance contract, or they sell hardware with. Well, those maintenance contracts, one, they're the life of a small business, right? Usually between 45 and 60% of the revenue. And yet there's no real systems to manage that. So they come up with spreadsheets, and they have their guys build little databases, or they try to do it with their CRM systems, but it's always a nightmare, right? And so again, I know this because it was a nightmare for me, and I asked my team, how do we fix this? And there is no way to fix it. You just deal with the spreadsheets, and then what you do is you hire a temp, to do that for you. So you're going to put a temp in charge of 50% of your revenue. Stupid, right? So we built a system to do that. So a couple things going on there. So that's it.
From lead generation to marketing, sales conversion
Yep.
to optimizing their operations.
Yep.
You do the holistic whatever is required, not from the delivery side but from the other side, where usually the tech company, a tech founder wouldn't understand these angles of a
Yeah.
business. From lead generation to marketing, sales conversion
Yep.
to optimizing their operations. Let's say I'm a tech founder. I am a tech founder, so so I don't have to be hypothetical here. My tech company is doing
Okay.
around 5 million in annual revenue.
Okay.
And like you said, I do also have marketing company, so it is helping me to generate leads. My marketing wing is doing that. Whatever you went through, I went through, so that's why I got into that. But
Right.
I'm still working out on my sales. So
Yeah.
once this holistic thing has done, once this is okay, steady income is going on. Now somebody aggressive like me who wants to grow, organic growth is taking time. But what if I
Right.
want to acquire a company or buy a company? So
Right.
how do you do consulting for them, or how does that go?
Yeah. I hate to use the term "it depends," but that's the truth, right?
I mean, yeah,
Because every company's a little different, right? So I got a call from a friend of mine. He runs an IT. He sold off a company, and it didn't go as well as you would like. Went okay, but didn't go as well. He built another company, and he wants to sell it. It's an IT services company, consulting company, right? And hey, Dave, what's my company worth? I don't have a little book here where I go down over, three over, there it is. Tell me about it. How profitable are you? Who do you sell to? Do you have recurring revenue? Do you have one customer that provides 60% of your revenue? I just talked to a company. They had one customer that represents 72% of the revenue. And I said, you're not for sale. I can't sell you. Just forget that. Just forget it. So, but stop with the but. No, don't waste your money and your time. So it really does depend. IT services company tends to have lower multipliers
Yeah.
than others, but it also depends on perhaps an urgent need. You may have a company that finds themselves, Dave, you need to find me a company with $5 million in revenue in IT services in this sector. Well, here's one. Great. Because it's so hard to find, we'll pay more. That's rare, but it happens. And so what I encourage owners to do is I'm not putting anybody down how they do business, but what I'm told is I'm not like other investment bankers. Look, I don't do this for the advisory fee. The money is in the sale of a company. That's the pure truth of it, right? And if you're in this for the advisory fee, you got bigger problems, right? That's a problem. So I'm incented to sell your company for the most possible valuation that we can get, 100%. But what I won't do is I won't lie to you and inflate a number to make you feel better about yourself. If I don't think your company's saleable, I'm going to tell you, and you don't have to like it, but I promise my client I'll never lie to you, and I won't blow up your ego to make you feel better. I'm just going to tell you what the market is and what it says. And if you want to build a plan to grow it more before you sell it, which by the way, 9 out of 10 times is what's needed, right? I can help you with that. If you're just done and you're, well, I don't care. I just want to be done. I'm tired. I don't know, 70 years old. I don't want to do it anymore, Dave. Just get me out. Okay. But that's like anything, right? If you have a house and you have to move, you're willing to take less to move, right? But in certain other cases, you need to get the maximum amount of the house to buy your next house, right? So it really depends on the owner, the conditions of the company, the market itself. So there's a lot of factors that can do it. So I really just encourage people, just talk to me. Talk to me about what's real. Tell me the truth. Don't lie to me because the minute you lie to me, I'm done. We're out. I'm not doing that anymore. So, um, but if we could put together a plan, there's a preparation process. It's so critical, Nish, that uh, it's the part that so many people don't quite understand. I think they think, well, I've got this bright, shiny new car, I could just sell it. Yeah, not so much. It doesn't work that way. And all these headlines you read about these people that made a gajillion, zillion dollars, right? Yeah, forget that. That's BS, right? Somebody either knew somebody or they got lucky or something, but that's not the way it works all the time. So I just encourage people to talk to me, and if I can help you, I will. If I can't, I probably know somebody who can, and it's somebody that I trust. So that's the way it goes. Now, I was just called the other day by a company. They're looking for perhaps an IT company that focuses on service. They don't want to build it themselves. They'll buy it. You can start to see what happens. It gets real narrow
Yeah.
of how many are good at, and are they big enough to buy, but not too big. So what is that? 5, 10, 15? I don't know. Company. It's
From lead generation to marketing, sales conversion
yep.
to optimizing their operations, from lead generation to marketing, sales conversion
Yep.
to optimizing their operations.
Niche timing, right? There's a lot of factors that can go into it. I'll give you just the opposite example of a company that running profitably,
Mhm.
you on the surface looks great, no problem. And then we exchange financials, and it's a $40 million company with an $80 million loan. My friend, you're not saleable. Well, can't we just find a buyer that'll pay that off? No, unless the guy from Family Guy is buying companies, somebody stupid, but they're not. These people are smart, and you just never know what you're going to run into.
So if somebody is in the path of acquiring a company, what kind of down yeah, and in hand even before approaching investment banker like you, or even to strategically advise them about senior debts and junior debts or different banking options they have.
Okay, so you're talking who? What should the
Buyer. Now I am a
okay? So
buyer. I want
buyer.
to buy a $2 million company.
Okay, so there's a couple of different kinds of buyers. There's strategic buyers. I work with a couple of that broke off from their investment houses, and they have some investment funding, and what they'll do is they'll buy a business and operate it. They see something in there that the owner's tired, they don't want to grow it, they've been using it as their own personal ATM. That happens all the time. And so they see something in there, and they'll have the money from the investment firm to buy it, no problem, because they see baby taking that $2 million and turn it into 10. There's a fallacy that all investments have to make 10 times they don't.
Yeah.
There's another one I'm working with. He has to put down, and then he would qualify for an SBA loan. So he qualifies the business differently. He has to look at working capital and profitability and ongoing revenue streams and net revenue retention, right? To make sure that he can pay off the loan. And then there's the ones that I just told you. I might have a buyer that wants to buy this great little $2 million company, and they'll buy it with cash. Here's the money, go home. So some buyers will come in and borrow money from the SBA. Some will put their own money in, and they have an operator. Maybe it's a guy like me sitting, he's still looking for something to do, or a woman sold her business and they still want to operate. So the guy will put the money in as the buyer and have this person come in and operate it and grow it. As you can see, there's not one simple answer. It really depends. What is the business? Is it a car wash or is it an IT company? It just depends on what it is.
Got it. Got it. No, but my understanding was usually a 25 to 30% down payment if you have, there is other ways, either financing or bank
Yeah.
debts or junior debts, things like that, right?
Yeah, yeah. And on the down payment, you can get in with as little as 10%,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Depending on the profitability of the company. Does the company have assets, right? Is the owner willing to provide some financing? I've seen the owner willing to provide up to 50%,
Fine.
which is
Yeah.
crazy, but okay. They've
he,
done
he
it.
must strongly believe in his business, right?
Well, you're going to give up control and you're going to finance half of it. There's usually some other storyline there, but the point is that there's all kinds of ways. I most recently I saw one where the owner was willing to 20% of the business. Right, that's fair. So a buyer can come in, put 10% down, get the owner financing, and get the rest from the SBA, and the SBA will finance that in a second, assuming the company's healthy. Right.
From lead generation to marketing, sales conversion
Yep.
to optimizing their operations.
Okay.
And usually, salespeople, they just take me along so that, it's like an assurance to the client that saying, hey, I'll make sure of the delivery kind of a thing. But always the delivery team will be there at the time of closing the sale. But
Sure.
I've heard a lot about how it takes like a year to get that meeting, or sometimes 2 years to get into, especially on the B2B sales, right? And even in my personal experience also, when I started the company, unless we know someone to someone to someone, the
Yeah.
cold emailing, the cold calling, the cold pinging, um, never works out. So what is like, any tips for the
Well,
companies who's looking
well,
for that?
yeah. Um, I would be careful on the never works part because it does. I ran a value added reseller company. We resold products, IT products, right?
Uh-huh.
B2B. And we had a 4-person company. We were running at a $2 million pace, right? Providing services. And we emailed and we called people. Now, what we did, and this is the part that most people don't do, is we had a very clearly defined ideal customer profile.
Hmm.
We didn't go after, Fortune 100 companies
Yeah.
because they're too big. And then I stayed away from, little systems that people would pay $8,000 for, right? That's not worth my time. So we focused on middle market companies in a certain specific area. uh, we did a lot of financial services, banking, and insurance companies, and a few manufacturing verticals. All was focused a lot around the workflow of operating the financial part of the business. So I didn't go after new customer generation or other stuff. I went after workflow of the operation on the backside. Now, the idea is get me in there and I'll grow it because I we worked very hard to become a very strategic vendor partner with that company, not just send them an invoice and go home. We worked very hard to become. I wanted to be in the room when they started talking about next phases of the company. Right, I wanted to be in the room so they would ask Dave, "Can you help us get ahead of this right before we start doing anything?" Yeah, I can. So we focused a lot on that, and you see, I see a lot of stuff online that inbound marketing is the only thing that works, right? Email marketing and that's horseshit. Uh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to all you marketing guru experts out there. Uh, it's one thing to say that that's what works for you. That's fine. But when you say that it doesn't work, it means you don't know what you're doing.
Hmm.
That's all that means. It doesn't mean it doesn't work because of course it works. Um, but you have to know what you're doing. You have to be able to call the right people. You have to have the right messaging, right? And no, you don't always call and they go, "Oh, thank God, Nisha, I'm so glad you called. I was worried that my day was going to end without you calling me." No, it doesn't work like that at all. You have to have value. All right. We've worked with other companies just like yours. In fact, one of your competitors, and we lowered their cost per invoice by 38%. We're estimating you process 10,000 invoices a month. If we were able to lower your cost by 38%, what would that mean to your working capital and your bottom line? Would you like me to tell you? Because I can tell you. Okay, that's a conversation, not, hey, I've got this great automation tool. You should really see it. Let us give you a demo. No, 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 no. So you have to have good messaging based on intelligence. It's like a recon unit. your salespeople better understand what a P&L looks like, right? I want to know if you're a public company, I'm going to go read your 10K. What are your strategic initiatives? If you don't have any in the area I'm in, I pass, right? So I collectively build wherever we've been successful, and then wrap numbers around that. We were successful with a company like yours. We were able to lower their costs, or we were able to get them into three new customers, which increased their average contract value. Real live value, not about you, but about what you can do for them. If you don't have that story, then you're losing. You're what I would call the B team or even the C team. I only run A teams. That's all I run. And if you're not willing to be on the A team, well, if you were in my company, you're fired. But you know, in clients that I've worked with, I would point to them and say, this person isn't willing to do the things that need to be done. I no longer had the need to work with them. If you want to keep them, that's fine. I would fire them, but that's just me, right? And then, several of them that I worked with, I tripled their revenue just by focusing on things that I know work. And so it's just about focus, being prepared, being knowledgeable about the space you're selling into, not about your product. You have to know your product. That's like a given,
That's of course, right? That's like a
right?
default.
That's
Yeah.
a baseline, right? But if I'm going to go sell something to you, I want to know, how does the IT services company run? What are you dependent on, right? What's your pain in the ass, right? Like, God, we can't figure this out. When you win, why do you win, right? I want to provide you with the things that exemplify that and take away the pain. But I have to know what those things are. And lots of salespeople or sales leadership don't know how to extract that information. They know how to fill in information in the CRM, but that's like a fraction of what needs to be done. You have to be able to have a conversation where the other person sees value in talking to you. If they see you as a salesperson, oh, I could
Not like
I could
it.
throw a stone and hit 10 of you, right? But if I'm having a value conversation with you about your business, I'm pretty unique now. Now I'm in the top 2%, right? And that's what I try to train companies to do is, let's go have a 2% conversation. Now, if you get into a company and they don't want to have that conversation, move on. Not everyone is going to, it's not going to, unlike the sales books, the sales gurus make it sound like all you have to do is have that conversation and, people just snap. No, they don't. Here's a tip for you. You know, People lie. They lie to you. Can you imagine? Right? Customers will take you down a road and they're not going to buy anything. You have to be able to see those signs, and you have to be able to not be afraid to ask the right questions, right? And if a customer gets irritated with you because you asked a question, they may not be the right customer for you. And so you have to be able to do that. And the only way you can do that is to be trained to see what to look for, right? It's not about reading a book about, I see all these sales methods, Medic and Challenger, and I don't know. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying pick one, right, and follow it. I'm a solution selling guy. Mike Bosworth is a friend of mine, and I read, people, solution selling's dead. It died in the 80s. No, it's not. If you say that, it means you don't know what you're talking about. All the things that you say are all the new stuff Mike talked about in the 80s, right? Building value, building a vision for the customer, knowing what to talk about ahead of time, knowing what value actually means to them. If you have a solution, follow it, right? And make sure everybody follows it. If you don't have one, get one. Pick one. I don't care. Pick one. But follow it, and everybody needs to be accountable to it. And it's amazing how obvious it can be, but how hard it is for people to recognize it. And that's what I help them do. Is let's establish the baseline. To operate in this company, you have to be able to do these things. And some people will do it above the baseline, and those that do it below the baseline, we're going to ask you to leave. We're going to ask you to go away. But here's the baseline you need to operate at this company, and then try to train people to operate at a higher level. That's yeah.
No, that's an interesting thing because coming back to training as an important cultural, so I was able to train my team to handle it. But the problem is when we are trying to expand, when the training goes down, if I'm
Yeah.
not able to spend time or if my leadership team is not able to spend time on that specific training, the training is being provided, but that self-discipline of doing things is missing a huge number of people.
Yeah, I know. I
They kind of have this, oh, you're privileged to have me, you pay me, I'm here, or I'm here, you have to pay me for that, right?
the hardest part running a company is managing people. It's not about growing revenue.
True.
It's about managing people. It's funny you said because my son used to work for me at our previous company, and I fired him twice, by the way, because I expected more from him than the other employees, right? And when he didn't live up to that, I asked him to leave, and he came back, and now he's a VP at a digital marketing company, and he's killing it. And of course now of course I'm smart
There
at
you go.
that. You're not gonna believe what I had to put up with. Yeah, I do. And the conversations are around people
Yeah.
and accountability. You say you can do this, but you don't do it, and then it's always somebody else's fault, right? That's an ongoing thing that never goes away. There's always going to be average people, always, and people will do that just do the minimum. So that's why I say I explain to people from the beginning. We have a baseline at this company. You're expected to do this much. That's why you get paid. You're expected. When you don't do at least this much, I don't think I have to pay you, right? Fair is fair, right? Now, if you can operate at a level above that, all boats rise at high tide. We all make more money, right? Right. But if you're not willing to do that, well, you have to at least operate at this level. And I tell my employees all the time, we're going to have people that are very happy just operating at the baseline. That's fine. I'm not going to beat you up over that, right? But if you want to operate at a level above, then pay attention, educate yourself, ask questions, ask for coaching, ask for help. You'll never get yelled at or be in trouble for asking for help for to get better. Never, right? And if you need some training, we'll get you some training. If I can train you, I'll train you, right? Um, but you want an operating level where everybody's accountable. And if you have mates or colleagues that are not holding their part, you need to make them you together need to make them operate at a higher level. And if they're not, then I'll come to you and ask you, what do you think we should do? You already know the answer, right? So it's just creating that environment. Sounds like you're doing that, creating that environment of everybody has to operate to a minimum baseline. If you don't, we're going to ask you to leave. But if you want to operate at a higher level, everybody does better, right? And if you want to know how to do that, if you don't know how, come and ask your manager, ask your colleague, ask me, right? And we'll help you. And I do that with salespeople, especially, and managers, especially. Managers think they have to know everything, right? Everybody thinks they're supposed to, but they don't, right? And they need coaching too. And I read stuff all the time about how to run companies, get different ideas, sales help. Here's the thing: just because I've read it doesn't necessarily mean I agree with it. It just means that's a different perspective I've taken into account. But there's a lot of sales, gurus out there that are, in my mind, well, just not good at all. So just because you have a podcaster, you put some on, doesn't mean you actually know what you're doing. In my opinion, but there are some that I look to say, that one thing is really good to share with somebody, right? The goal is to always help make people better at what they do, but they have to want to. If they don't want to, then in my mind, you don't belong at my company, at least, right? But if you want to, I'm going to give you every opportunity to get better at what you do. So that, it's an ongoing, the wheel never stops turning. It has to keep going. And that's, if you're one of the people that makes it stop turning, we're going to ask you to get off the bus. Just go away.
Thing because coming back to training as an important cultural, so I was able to train my team to handle it. But the problem is when we are trying to expand, when the training goes down, if I'm
Yeah.
not able to spend time or if my leadership team is not able to spend time on that specific training, the training is being provided, but that self-discipline of doing things is missing a huge number of people.
Yeah, I know. I
They kind of have this, oh, you're privileged to have me, you pay me, I'm here, or I'm here, you
yeah.
have to pay me for that, right?
The hardest part running a company is managing people. It's not about growing revenue.
True.
It's about managing people. It's funny you said because my son used to work for me at our previous company, and I fired him twice, by the way, because I expected more from him than the other employees.
One thing they don't have is sales team.
Right.
Why? Because they have burned their fingers with the sales team. That's what they say. They would have
Yes.
all tried, as soon as they touch that 2 million mark, they immediately go hire a sales team, at least a two-member team, right? They wait for a year and a half, and they burn like 200, 250K, hoping something will happen.
That's the plan, right? The plan is let's hire some people. Something's got to happen.
Yeah.
There's a guy online on LinkedIn. He talks about spending $895,000 on sales development reps, SDRs, before he figured out that that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Well, that just makes you an idiot in my mind. All right, what was the plan? Why didn't you have a plan before? You can't just put warm bodies in seats and expect sales to just come flooding in. It never has worked that way. And kudos to him for admitting that he spent that and it didn't work. But don't blame it on the system. It's your fault because you're not a good leader. You didn't plan it right, right? So now you figured out a marketing way that works better. Well, that's fine, but that doesn't mean it doesn't work. Put a sales team in place, and I promise you, my sales team will outperform yours. If you just went out and randomly, found people at Starbucks and said, "Yeah, you'd be a good salesperson." I mean, no. I talked to a guy. He bought a car. Oh, you gotta love this. He bought a car, and he really liked the experience with the BMW salesperson, so he hired him.
Oh, wow.
That's just plain dumb. I'm sorry. It's like saying, you have the gift of gab, so you must be a good salesperson. Honest to God. I said there's no fix for stupid. I can't
Yeah.
I can't give you a fix for that, but don't do that. All
No,
right.
no,
That's
don't take me wrong, but personally, I don't like car sales. I mean, at least for me, right? It's so obvious. The next question they ask is like, okay, now I know you're gonna ask me this question, right? It's don't make it so obvious, guy. At least read your
well,
customer.
you're right. You're exactly right. And that's why it takes if I'm sitting across from a CIO or a CFO, right? Can you imagine how many salespeople these guys have talked to, right? Oh my God, not again, right? Um, their conversations with me are typically different
Yeah,
because I'm not talking about me. I'm not talking about the company. I'm talking about what's important to them in context of what I do. So I'm not going to, I sold a very large accounting automation system to a one of the largest providers of windows and doors and siding, home siding in
uh-huh.
the country. $2 billion company, and uh, my conversations with them is, so what percentage of invoices that you deal with come from the glass manufacturers? What? Well, it's important to know. He said, that is so strange that you asked me that because he said, we just had that emergency. We couldn't find the invoice that had to get paid. We owed the glass manufacturer $600,000 and they wouldn't ship us the glass. It's really hard to make windows without glass, right? Turns out. So I said, well, what do you think that cost you? And he said, probably cost us $40,000 in fees, not to mention the glass manufacturer was really pissed. I mean, now they want payment up front.
Yeah,
What do you think that's costing you? I haven't even put numbers to it yet, but you can feel the pain. That had absolutely nothing to do with my technology or why mine was better or anything like that. Is I want to understand how you deal with it. So if we had something in place that picked your five or six or eight, which is typical, really critical vendors, right? That ran them through a very specific process to one person. We're going to assign one person for just those, and his face just, you can do that? Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Already, I already built the outline of how the cubicles will be rearranged so that the workflow will. What? Yeah. So let me show it to you. I showed it to him. He said, oh my god, that's brilliant. You know what my competitor did? He offered to give him a demo. I didn't do a demo. It was a $1.2 million system. I didn't do a
Yeah,
demo.
yeah, you don't need a
So
demo for that.
it's a different. And you know how we closed it? We went for a sandwich, and he said, "Listen, I don't really trust salespeople very often." I said, "I don't either. I understand. I get it." He said, "So where I'm from, we shake hands." I said, "Well, that's odd because that's what we do for I'm from. I'm from Philly, right? And only in Philly, if you shake somebody's hand and you don't live up to it, you get beaten half to death. I'm not going to do that." But uh, uh, on my father, I'll shake your hand. And we shook hands, and we were a vendor of his, well, till I sold the company, which was like 8 years, right? And we just kept expanding it. They bought two more companies. They brought us into those two more companies. So it's different. It's a different way of approaching it, understanding what's behind it. Now, it took me, I don't know, 2, 3 weeks to do the homework to get to that conversation. And you know how I got to the CFO? I looked up his name in Hoover's. I was already told no, that I lost that deal. I looked up his name in Hoover's, found him, emailed him, and said, "You're buying the wrong system. And here's why. Uh, there's a bigger picture involved here." I said, "You give me 30 minutes, I'll fly to North Carolina and I'll show it to you." And he did. And we won that deal. So there's a difference between just putting bodies in seats that can fog a mirror, right? And professional salespeople. That's why I talk about the lead generation solution we put together is not, the thing you find on the web, find me more leads. We do a lot of homework in identifying your ideal customer profile, finding the people to call. You can't just call 1-800 customer and expect to talk to somebody. Who is the leadership team? Who's making decisions at this company for what you're selling, right? We go do that home. So when we make a call, it's to the right person. And we're talking about a message that resonates with them, not just another sales call. Hey, how you doing today? Hope you're doing good. I got something to talk about. I know you're going to want to hear about. You can hear it coming. You can hear it coming. We don't have that conversation. We don't do that. We talk about what we've read in your annual report or in your 10K or what we found on your website, or we read your profiles. We see you went to so and so university. We see you worked here. That means you probably have education in these areas. This is probably what's important to you. Does that sound right? And you know what? A lot of times that works. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes people just say, "I don't want to talk to you. Don't ever call here again." Okay.
Yeah.
It happens. I just had that happen with a company in M&A track. I literally have a buyer for this company. I called the CEO and he was rude. He just said, "You unsubscribe me. Don't you ever call me again." Okay. Okay. I won't. All he had to do was just say, what do you got? What do you tell me a little bit about your investment bank? Tell me what's going on." And I would have told him I had a buyer for him, but he didn't want to have that, so he's out.
It's
Probably could have made him $2 or $3 million pretty quickly. When people do that, is it on them or is it on me? I think it's on them. So, but you have to be trained how to have that conversation. If you're not, then you're just another spam call for them.
so your fractional sales team, you said, right? So, I mean, is it like a training you provide them, or your team works fractionally for the client?
I wouldn't call it training because it has the wrong connotation. Like you're not going to sit in a classroom and I'm going to give you things to fill out with magic formulas. That's just stupid. No, no, no. So let me give you an example of the last campaign where I worked with a marketing company and the owner, classic case, very technical, figured out all the ways that you could create a proposal in 8 seconds. AI, fill in these three things and you got a 30-page proposal. Great. Wondering why sales are off. And so I talked to the CEO, I talked to the marketing director, I talked to the lead sales guy. Every one of them had a different thought about why sales were down. Okay, so first thing you say is, "You're all not on the same page. You're not talking to each other. I can tell. I know. Well, and then the excuses come out, and everything you just said was an excuse. Okay, and I talked to the CEO. I said, "This is your fault. It's not their fault. You're the leader. They count on you. If you're all over the place, they'll be all over the place. So let's get stuff lined up. What do you want? What do you want to have happen? When you're not happy, what's not happening? What do you want?" And I said, "It's okay if you say I don't know." And he said, "I don't know." That's fair. It's okay. Let me help. So I helped create, and I know this is what we need to achieve. Okay, how do we get there? What did we do with these clients when it was working? So then I looked at the proposals. The proposals were garbage, honestly. Beautiful, beautiful 25-page documents with AI based images, and they were complete horseshit. There was literally one paragraph about the customer on page 3. And so I said, "Yeah, you're going to get rid of all this stuff. This is not what we're going to do. What we're going to do is when you're selling marketing systems, the customer, understand what the customer wants. They don't need fancy proposals. Typically, a customer goes, 'What's in it for me?' And they go to the pricing page. How about we do this? How about we offer to create a blueprint for that? If we're going to work for your company, this is the blueprint of what we're going to do for you. Give us 45 minutes or an hour. We'll give you a blueprint of what we'll start with and what we'll go out with." Oh, I like that. And we're going to charge for that. How much you're going to charge, I got to leave that up to you. But I would charge $8,000 to $9,000 for that, and then you're going to say, "If you go with us, I will deduct that from the cost of your project. If you don't want to go with us, you could take that and take it to any marketing company and just say, 'I want you to build me this blueprint.'" And he was like, "I don't know that people will pay for it." I said, "Well, let's just ask." In 3 months, they sold 9 blueprints. Half of those companies did not elect to move forward, which is fine. So I said, "You got paid to do the blueprint." They said no for all kinds of reasons. But the other ones, now they see value in you because you want to figure out ahead of time, how are you going to make me successful before I give you the big money? Change the whole way the company worked. This guy wanted the sales guy fired. And I said, "The sales guy's fine. He wants to do the right thing. You won't let him. How about you let him, talk to him like a human being, coach him, help, and he'll be a good sales guy." Turns out he is a sales guy, made him actually, got twice as many customers in the last year. So it was just about, people were upset, but nobody was talking. So I go in and I help. You can call that training. I wouldn't. I'd call it more coaching.
Again, it
And
zero downs to the culture and the team
yeah,
environment and all those things.
I had one guy say he wants to fire the sales team because he thought they weren't hungry enough. I was like, "I don't know what that means. What does that mean? They're hungry enough. And have you trained them how to be hungry? Whatever that means." Everybody knows it. No, not everybody. I don't know what you mean by that. Are they not selling enough? Or are they not selling up enough? Do they know what you're expecting of them? And the answer to all those things was, "Yeah, no, no. I'm just frustrated." Okay, that's different. That's not their fault. That's your fault. And one of them, turns out the salesperson was not good. We fired him, but the other ones were good. They just didn't know what to do. They're running around, and one day the plan is this, and the next day the plan is that, and you're yelling at me because I didn't update a record, and on and on and on. And so we just changed all of that. Just changed it. And what's the expectations? If you're on track to do this, this is where we need you to be. And the expectations on you. I don't want you spending 4 hours a day in the CRM. That's a waste of time. You shouldn't spend more than 30 minutes unless you have something major to update, maybe an hour, but definitely no more than that. And use the tools that automate things. And we showed them how to do that. And all of a sudden, 6 months later, everybody's thrilled. Everybody's happy. The salespeople are happy because they don't feel like they're under a microscope. They're not getting yelled at all the time. Everybody's making more money. So sometimes it's just, you know, changing the picture, for them. And they don't know how to do it themselves. And they don't want to go out and spend 250 grand for a new VP of sales. But maybe, they'll bring me in for, 2, 3, 4 months, and we can change it for them nicely without, mafia like tactics or anything like that. We go in and try to understand, and then, you know, paint a new picture and help them fill in It's like number painting. We just help them fill it in. So
One of my friends' company, they hired someone, a consultant, to train their sales team, and he ended up firing almost everyone. And that's also fine, but the end of the day remark was, see, I saved you 20K a month.
no.
He was like, I don't want to save, I want to expand.
And so you have to be able to do that. And the only way you can do that is to be trained to see what to look for, right? It's not about reading a book about I see all these sales methods, Medic and Challenger, and I don't know. There's
From lead generation to marketing, sales conversion
yep,
to optimizing their operations.
just
Yeah,
look at what I did
cleaned
clearly.
up your.
And my thought to that is you're already the problem. Now, I talk to everybody, and if your mind is right, you want to do the right things, you want to go forward, then, and you're willing to learn and do it, then we're going to be fine. If you're, I already know, I know everything. I had one guy actually came to me and said, I'm so glad you're here. The rest of this team is shit. They need your help. I don't really need your help. I'm just going to go do my own thing and good luck. No, no, Joe, that's not the way this is going to work. If you're really that good at what you do, I'm going to use you as a beacon, as a light for people to follow. But if you're not, then people will see what you're not.
No, you're not.
So pick and choose, but you don't get to just be left alone to do what you. We ended up firing Joe, so that happens. But no, I the idea, my idea when I go into a company is there's likely a miscommunication. People generally want to do a good job. They're looking for leadership. They're looking for somebody to help them be better. They don't know what to ask for. So help them. And the refusal to learn is a red flag that you need to go. But that doesn't mean you have to agree with everything. I'm perfectly fine if somebody says to me, I know what you said over here. I just don't agree with that way of doing it. Okay, what's your idea? Tell me. And if I get the, well, my uncle was a sales guy in the 70s for IBM, I don't care. So, but you listen first, you try to develop a cohesive team. It's like EOS. They don't go in to look to fire everybody, but they do try to identify who are the right people in the right seats on the right bus. I don't do anything different. I do the same exact thing. The idea is, are you the right person for this job on this bus? And if you are, then we're going to make you better. And by making you better, I'm going to make you more money and you're going to make the company more money. And it's going to be great. It's not going to be free. It's not going to be easy. It'll be hard. But if you're willing, we'll keep going. If you're not, then we're going to wish you well and good luck in your next endeavor. But it won't be here. Simple. And most CEOs can get in line with that, but they don't want to do it. They don't. They don't. Many of them don't like being the bad guy or the bad woman, or they don't want to fire their friend. That's the hardest one. But anyway, it's a process, and they'll typically. I'm at a company 4 to 6 months,
Four to six months.
until they can get it going.
So if you don't mind, what would be the approximate cost? I don't want exact number.
No, no, it depends on what they need me for. I typically charge 8,000 a month, and that'll get you 1 day a week. If in the beginning you need a little more help, then it can be 10. But then we can back it off because you only need me for coaching or whatever, or
Got
something
it.
like that. So I become an advisor. Now, if you need the other services like from my marketing team or lead generation team, then those are kind of add-on services,
Package.
and
Okay.
it depends on what you need. But the benefit you get in the beginning is the first thing I do is I have my marketing guy do I call it a background check on your website, but he has tools that he could go in and look at your website and identify immediately, whoa,
What's wrong?
this is not good,
All the
right?
SEO
Right.
score and is the lead magnets and how do they get capture the leads and all those things.
You
Totally.
can't imagine how many times we find sites without call to action,
Yeah.
right? Or the lead magnet is broken. The link is broken, or it takes you to a wrong page, or
Yeah.
it's amazing how many. really obvious things we find, but that kind of comes for free. That just kind of comes along for the ride. And then if they want to hire us, then and we're currently working with a company down in Atlanta where they were looking to sell the company. I encouraged them not to. A couple of years, build out the revenue. You'll be worth 4 times what you are now if you set this up right. So they listened.
From lead generation to marketing, sales conversion
Yep.
to optimizing their operations.
They didn't really. I only gave them a few days of help. They really needed more marketing and lead generation help. It's 2 years now. My lead generation team is still there. They just do a great job. We've more than doubled the revenue for them, and so now we're talking again about getting them ready to sell. So it's a process. There's no, believe me when I tell you, I don't have any magic pixie dust in a bag where I just sprinkle on your company and it goes crazy. There's no magic formula. As much as all these people online want to tell you, if you just follow my 8 step formula, you'll be 10x. No, you won't. Stop it. Don't. That's just a lie. It's a hard thing to do. It's a process. You'll have people that'll follow it. You'll have people that won't. It takes a little time. It's like marketing. Marketing, people come in and they expect revenue is going to double in 3 months because they have a new marketing team. No, that's not the way it works at all. Not at all. So that's we try to set expectations properly so people don't expect stuff like that. But we always deliver results. Always. We haven't had a client yet where we haven't. Some I thought we could do a little better than we did, but at the same time, we've always more than covered what they spent on us. That's for sure. Yeah.
Sometimes the economic factors also make sense, right? What's
Yeah.
happening in the world in the last 2 years has been
Agree.
not easy,
Yeah.
right?
COVID was
2023 and 24 is not easy.
it's been challenging. It really has. And sometimes the rules change, taxation rules. There's all kinds of things that you have to take into account. And so it's one of the things I caution people that are selling their companies. Preparation is probably the most, there's usually a process, right? But preparation is the absolute most important part. You have to prepare your company, you have to prepare your mindset for what you're going to go through. If you think that this is like you're going in and buying a stereo. It's not. It's hard. And people lie.